Hi, everyone, and welcome to the final webinar in CLIR's Digitizing Hidden Collections, Amplifying Unheard Voices Applicant Support Series. I'm Alyson Pope, Program Officer of the CLIR Grants Team. We're glad you could be with us today as we spend some time answering your questions.
We're going to start off with some introductions first to the platform and then to our team. To start off, we want to share some notes about using Zoom during this session. A live transcript is being generated if you would like to utilize it. To turn on this feature, click CC Live Transcript button at the bottom of your Zoom window. Attendees will be muted throughout the presentation. However, you're welcome to use chat for general introductions and conversation. If a chat box isn't already displaying on your Zoom screen, you can hover your mouse toward the bottom of the screen and open it manually. In order to send a message to everyone, remember to change the default from all panelists and hosts to everyone. We ask that you use the separate Q&A box to ask questions. This can be opened the same way as the chat box. Because we have limited time together, please feel free to follow along with the questions as they come in and upvote them to let us know that it would be helpful for you to have these answered live. We will do our best to answer all of the questions live, but we will also share responses to all questions alongside the recording. This session is being recorded, and the slides, Q&A, recording, and transcript will be made available on the Apply to Award page of our website in the next 2 weeks.
Before we move into our program content, we would like to center today's conversation by acknowledging that as residents of the U.S., we're speaking to you from unceded land of many indigenous people. We recognize the long-standing history that has brought us to reside on this land, and we seek to have greater understanding of our place within that colonial history. We denounce any acts of terrorism, colonialism, and environmental disregard, both past and present. In particular, we would like to respectfully acknowledge and recognize the original and current caretakers of the land, water, and air where we live, all people and all of their ancestors and descendants. I am grateful to have this opportunity to live and work on their homelands and ask you to join me in acknowledging all indigenous communities, their elders, both past and present, as well as future generations. May this acknowledgement and our ongoing work demonstrate CLIR's commitment to beginning the process of working to dismantle the ongoing legacies of settler colonialism. If you haven't done so already, we'd love for you to introduce yourself in the chat and share a land acknowledgement for the area where you live, if you'd like.
Hi, I'm Sharon Burney, and I'm joined today by my fellow program officer, Alyson, and we'll be answering all of your questions over the next hour and will conclude at 3 p.m. Eastern Time. We're supported today by our colleagues Jane Larson, Jada Wright-Green, and Louisa Quasigra. Before we get started, we did want to go ahead and share the survey link for today's session. And we invite you to go ahead and open that now so you'll remember to complete it later. And we'll share that and get started on these questions that are coming in quickly. Let's see, looks like the first question. Is this a two-part? Can you elaborate on what this means? Approximate percentage of the nominated material may remain encumbered. I'm not sure where they're pulling that from. Where are they pulling that from?
I don't know. I see the same question. Here's a full question I'll start with just to get us rolling. There are a couple that seem like responses, and I'm not sure what the response is to. If we need certain equipment to carry out particular digitizing objects and we'll use the equipment beyond this specific project, can we include this in the budget? Project-specific equipment can be included in the budget if it is needed to complete the grant work. For instance, if you bought a scanner with your supplies funds, we would certainly not expect you to dispose of that scanner at the end of the project, we would anticipate that that item would still have life, but we do limit the supplies to things that are must-haves to complete the digitization component of the project.
Sarah, if you could elaborate a little more on your question in the question and answer box, then we'll go ahead and try to answer that in order. The question, original materials to be digitized during the project by quantities and types, is proving tricky for us. For the first round of the application, we asked for page and item count estimates to create the budget, and we have a sense of the overall collection size and materials. However, we did not ask partners to detail how many of which material type they have, although we have a general sense if a collection is mostly textual, photographic, etc. For this question, can we use mixed archival collections in linear feet? How we are estimating the budget and digitization amount, or would CLIR reviewers be discouraged by the lack of detail? No, I think that's good. We do have projects all the time that use linear feet calculations, and that'll be fine. You can use that if you like. The reviewers just want to have a sense that you have an idea of what's in those collections. We always expect surprises to be there from duplicates or stuff that's not salvageable, but linear feet is fine.
Thanks for this. Recontractors, I'm having difficulty finding a contract digital archivist to respond with an initial quote. We plan to budget greater than $5,000 for their services. If we're unable to secure a quote before the application deadline, is there a place in the application to explain? There should be a section under service provider where you could explain that you have been seeking quotes for this, but have not yet been able to obtain one. And you can also, I would also include that in your budget narrative as well, when you talk about that as probably a prospective line item. Sharon, is there anything else that you would advise them?
Yeah, I would add to that also is that you could possibly get other quotes from other vendors that you don't intend on using, but with a similar percentage amount, so they can have an idea what the average cost is for that particular service, even though they're not this selected vendor. Okay, let's see. Regarding access and reuse control for materials with potentially sensitive identifying information, would instituting a process for the potential redaction or removal of material as requested by descendants of photographs be advisable? Yes. The rights, ethics, and reuse aspect of the application, and reviewers will be looking for you understanding these issues as they arise, and that you already have a takedown plan or a plan to address any concerns over the rights, ethics, and reuse aspects of the nominated materials. And as long as you have an understanding of what the issues are, you clarify that clearly into your applications, and you have a takedown plan in order, most our IP reviewers and reviewers as a whole look favorably amongst that.
After attending these support sessions and considering reviewer comments, our project budget is larger than what we initially proposed in our initial application. Should we be concerned? No, we do expect to see some fluctuations between award amounts sought in the initial and final application as you refine your digitization plan. You may have come out of the staffing and budget session understanding that you are going to be looking for higher salary line amounts. There are various reasons why you might change that amount between stages. We would just expect to see that all the lines are fully justified and explained in your budget narrative. And as long as that's the case, it won't be a problem if it's not the same as it was in the initial application.
Okay, I think the next two could be combined, and this next one can be combined together. So do the letters of support have to come from individuals outside of your institution or just outside of your department? We are a large university and have at least 2 faculty who use the materials that we are proposing to digitize as part of this grant in their classes and research who will write strong letters of support. Is that permissible, or do the letters have to come from outside the university? And the additional question to that is also, we are not collaborating with any other department or institution on this project. So do we only need 1 letter of commitment? So there's 2 types of letters of support that you have to provide for the final application. One is a letter of institutional support, that if you are a lone applicant without collaborators, then that will come from your department chair, dean, provost, or upper administration, who will commit to carrying out what you proposed in your project. And there are guidelines on that, on letters of support on our apply for an award page. The second one is letter of support from outside individuals. For competitive applications, I would recommend some of those letters of support coming from people outside of your institution. And who's whatever the topic subject matter is of your project. You want to find people because they want it to have broad representation and appeal. So how is this used locally, but also regionally or internationally? So are there other scholars who can support why this particular subject area is important and its impact to the community and scholarly research, et cetera? So I would recommend getting at least 1 of those from somebody outside of your institution for it to be competitive.
We will be hiring a part-time position to implement this project. We have identified a person who is uniquely qualified for this work due to their familiarity with the collection. Is it okay to know who we intend to hire, or are we required to do a search? You are not required to do a search, and you are not required to make public postings of your jobs if you already have a selected candidate internally. You would just include the position description in your application. But it's okay that you already have someone in mind internally that you plan to use.
I think Sarah's is still remaining. Can you elaborate on what this means? Approximate percentage of nominated materials may remain encumbered? Where are you pulling that from?
I have a feeling I'm going to take a guess at what this question is referring to. I think when we ask in the rights, ethics, and reuse sections, or what we've maybe communicated about rights, ethics, and reuse is that there are reasons that you may have restricted access for certain portions of your collection. And I think what we've communicated is we would like to know what percentage of that collection it would be. So if you had an overall collection of recorded sound and you thought there might be 10% of commercial recordings that you may end up restricting access on. So that, I think, is the approximate percentage of the nominated materials which may remain encumbered that is being discussed here. So yes, if you had a collection that was going to need restricted access for some portion of it, up to all of it, what percentage is that we would want to, the panel would want to know approximately what they would see available for access at the end. I believe this is what this is in reference to, but Sarah, feel free to correct me in the Q&A or in the chat if that's not the question. Okay.
Yep, looks like you answered that. Any other questions? Is it okay to extend the time frame for the project? Yes, as long as it falls within the 1 to 3 years that we're requesting. If there's any changes that you need to make between, now that you have a better assessment of what your project timeline or collections or vendors or digitization, we expect there to be some changes between the first initial application to the second. Yes, you can extend it as long as it falls in between the 1 to 3 year guidelines and the dates fall into the timelines that are specified in the application. You can change the timeline. Make sure that when you're filling out your project timeline and your project digitization plan and the work plan, they all make sense and line up too. So as you're changing that, you should be changing those other aspects of your application.
This is kind of a similar question. If the amount of items to be digitized and uploaded for public access in the initial proposal is greater than what we now know we can do within the project timeframe, is it permissible to revise and reduce to what is feasible? Yes, so much as it's permissible to change your project length from the initial application to the final application, it is permissible to change your collections that you are looking to have digitized. If you have realized that the scope of your project is kind of beyond the confines of this program, that's certainly allowed.
Is it okay to say that we won't know what percentage of materials would be redacted or restricted until we see the materials? It's hard to predict at this point, though we don't anticipate much will be restricted. Once again, I think they're primarily requesting an estimate of percentage that you would see. So I would take the best estimate that you think might be redacted to the best of your ability, that you have a plan, you understand what that plan is going to be, and you convey that plan to the IP reviewers. Alyson, you want to add anything to that?
No, I think that sounds accurate. I mean, everything is an estimate, as you've heard kind of in the support series from assessing the collection. We understand that some of these collections are not inventoried to the item level or beyond at this point, and that you're making guesstimates. So you will have to just do the best that you can.
If we have a contractor in mind, but they can't commit yet to the timeline, but they have provided an hourly rate, so will not produce a quote. Should I add this to the service provider and budget narrative section? You should add this to this budget narrative and service provider section. Remember though, what's the percentage? 5,000, we need a quote? Yeah, so if it's over $5,000, you need a quote for vendor or services. You can do once again, like we stated earlier too, in responding to another question, is you could also get a comparable vendor or those services that you're asking for, and then ask for a quote around there so that the reviewers have an idea, estimate of what these costs would normally go for, what the various and then say, we're probably going to select this vendor, but here are some comparable quotes.
So just to clarify, all digitized materials must be fully accessible, viewable as an outcome, as opposed to only sharing the metadata in some cases. So no, that is not what we are saying. All digitized materials do not have to be fully publicly accessible. That is what we are talking about when we get into encumbrances, takedown notices, and restricted access. So if you are dealing with materials like with a bunch of PII, personally identifiable information, that you know ahead of time you are not going to be making publicly accessible, those are going to be restricted files. You can identify that upfront, that you intend to restrict that access to those materials, and that percentage of your collection will be what we're talking about as encumbered. So it is not required that all digitized materials be fully publicly accessible as an outcome, understanding that that will not be the appropriate measure for some of these materials based on what the collections are built around.
I'm sorry, I think I missed the answer to the following. Can our budget go over the initial proposal? And can we add collaborators? Yes, your budget can go be higher than what you submitted in the initial round. Can't go over $300,000 because that's the limit for all projects. You must also, when you're doing this though, think about making sure that your budget narrative and your budget detail reflect this difference in change and plan and support it because they want to see that the budget makes sense. So make sure you clarify that throughout your application. Second, can we add collaborators? You can now become you can add official collaborating organizations, but they have to qualify under the same circumstances that you qualified. They must be a nonprofit organization, cultural heritage institution, organization within the United States and its territories or Canada. And they will also have to, if they're officially a collaborating project with you, they will also have to provide a letter of support from their institution and proof of their nonprofit status. You have to upload all of that. Now, some people have unofficial partners and organizations who aren't named as official collaborating organization, and they can, you can utilize them in the budget, but you need to refer to that partnership extensively throughout your application. I hope that answers.
I also just want to affirm something that Sharon said. If you change your budget because you need to, make sure that your budget narrative and your budget detail and your requested amount in the application are all the same. Because if you forget to update your request amount and it doesn't match your budget detail and your budget narrative, you're going to get bumped in the tech review. So make sure that you are asking for the same amount of money in all three places if you're changing your ask.
And let's expand on that a little bit more, Alyson, too. We expect some changes between the initial, of course, and final application. And make sure that you're being thorough before you hit the submit button, that you're tracking all of your changes and that they're reflective throughout your entire application. On the work plan, the digitization plan, your rights, your collections list, all of those things need to make one coherent story to the reviewers. And so it does become tricky when you're making substantial changes that you go back and check and recheck and make sure all of these pieces fit together.
Oh, so really quickly, following up on the last question, I think this is actually 2 questions ago. So we have to get multiple quotes, or is the one quote permissible if we have a preferred vendor who we've worked with in the past? If you have a chosen vendor, you can upload only one quote, as long as it is an actual quote. So it sounds like maybe you're having trouble getting a full-blown quote from that vendor at this point in time. If that is the case and you have another quote, upload that secondary quote just to meet the requirements of having a quote. And explain that you are planning to go with the original vendor, but you haven't gotten to a place yet in negotiation with them that you have a quote. So you do need at least one to fulfill that component. So if you don't have one from them, then you would need a second one. If you do have one and you know you are going to go with that provider, you don't have to provide alternative quotes.
Okay, related to the above question, if one of the partners in the project, an individual, is proposed to be a co-PI and to have a part-time position, do we still need to propose a job description for them, or can that be explained in the partner narrative? Okay, so you have a PI who's also going to be working, you're going to have a line of budget staffing for them. No, I mean, it depends on what that role is going to be. Are they going to be the project director? Are they going to be the archivist? it could be a variety of roles that they have, the project PI. So in your budget narrative, you're going to explain all the staffing in the larger description. So you would definitely put that in there, and that you don't have to put the necessary job description. You could say they're going to be the archivist is going to be this at this many hours at this salary, etc. And then the budget detail, you would just put that line and how much you're going to pay them in the fringe rate for that in there. So you don't necessarily have to do a job description. You give them the title that that proposed person is going to have, and and you put both of it in the budget detail and the budget narrative. The budget narrative is a little different because it's going to explain what they're doing, how they're doing it, what rate, and the budget detail is going to be a snapshot of that particular specifics of that actual budget line. I hope that answers your question.
I wanted to add on to there too. You may just, in these instances, sometimes you need to upload a job description, sometimes you need to upload a CV or resume. So if you already have someone in place, and you're not hiring and you're going to be a PI, you may find in the context of the application that we're asking for their CV or resume rather than a generic job description that you would like retroactively apply to them in their work on the project, if that makes sense.
Yeah, because you have to upload the CV of all PIs anyway. Out of curiosity, of the 49 applicants invited to submit a final application, how many awards will be made? Alyson?
Yeah, so there we don't have a set number of awards. It's a set amount of money awarded. So once we have an award total that reaches the overall total of the pool, those will be our awardees. So if a lot of smaller projects are granted, it could be upwards of 20 to 25. If more large projects are granted, it could be 12 to 15. It really is dependent on the size of the awards.
Yeah, the reward quests determine that a lot. We'd love to, we wish we could, and we had enough money to award all of you, but we can't. Is the award, is it, oh, do you want me to do this one? Go
Sure.
ahead, no, go ahead.
Sorry, is the award amount all or nothing, or do you offer a smaller amount than requested? Typically, the award amount is all or nothing. There are some unusual circumstances where we will ask you to adjust your award amount based on feedback from the panel. If, for instance, they look at your specs and they think you just simply don't have enough money for your digitization, they may advocate that we ask you to increase. Or in some instances, if you've submitted a large collection of mixed materials, maybe there are some materials that we deem ineligible by format and those are removed from the collection to be digitized, and in that case we would slightly decrease the award to match that change. But in general, it's an all or nothing scenario.
If you have individuals who are working remotely, will the grant cover their travel to the site to do some of the work at the specific times? Yes, it will. There is money in the budget that's allowable for travel. Always also check out the disallowed and allowed costs section of the guidelines, and that'll tell you the caps on certain budget lines. Is that it? We're about to set a record.
Give you guys a few more minutes. Oh, see. I'm actually gonna take this.
You want to take this one?
I'm gonna take this second question first because
Okay.
it's simple and it's probably my fault that it's being asked. Is the Digitizing Hidden Collections applicant handbook the same thing as the guidelines? Yes. We used to have a handbook in hidden collections and a guidelines and recordings at risk, and we interpolated them frequently and made mistakes in how we referred to them. So now we call them guidelines in both programs. But at times we do inadvertently revert back to referring to it as the applicant handbook. So yes, we mean the final application guidelines.
And this one is a 2-4. Secondary sources, there are places where it might be good to cite a source in the application, i.e. for discussing historical context, but there's no place for a list of references. Should I just add a citation at the end of that particular section or just avoid any references or citations? If it can fit in the word count, you can cite the location and put the hyperlink in there. There's also an optional uploads at the end of the application where you could put all of your sources and cite it and just refer to that wherever you put them in the application, where to find the sources for that information. And it says to conclude only brief resumes. Would this be a one paper only? Alyson, you want to do that one? Is there a limit on that? I don't think there's a limit. There's no limit on the CVs.
Yeah, there's no limit on the resumes or CVs.
You don't have to, yeah, you don't have to truncate that.
Yeah, and I'm just going to quickly revisit the guidelines regarding a previous question. Upload a resume/CV for each of the named project principal investigators. So the question about the co-PI earlier, you will be uploading a resume or CV for them, and you don't need to worry about generating a job description as well.
Did we get them all? Yeah, I think that's good. Is that it? Any other questions before we wrap up? Another one.
We are located in Canada and we are drafting our budget up in Canadian dollars. And once we finalized it, we will translate it into US dollars before submitting. The budget detail is quite descriptive for each budget item. Should we translate that into US dollars as well, or could I do the following? The budget detail line item heading will be in US dollars. I include a sentence for each line item explaining that all calculations are listed in Canadian dollars. To be honest, I would keep your documents in one currency only. Which I know is a bit of a hurdle for the Canadians that we're not imposing on the Americans, but I think from the review panel perspective, it will be easier for them to analyze your documents without any room for maybe possible misinterpretation if everything they see is in one currency. So I would recommend translating that all into USD.
Is it best to include all partners as co-PIs, or can one individual be the lead? If this is a collaborative partner, an official collaborative partner, meaning that you are recognizing them on your application as an official collaborating partnership, it is good to have a PI probably listed from each collaborating organization. It's not a requirement though.
It's also not going to be possible for some of your projects because you can only have 3 PIs.
Exactly,
And some of you have, I believe, upwards of 10 collaborators.
right. So that would be up to the, the initial applicant. Looks like we're getting some more questions, Alyson.
Proof of eligibility for applicant and any collaborating organizations will be required for projects recommended for funding. Does this mean that applicants and partners don't have to provide proof of 501c3 status, etc., for the application, only if awarded? Yes, that is correct. We are not asking for your IRS determination letter or your EIN within the application at this time. We will follow up with the awardees to confirm their appropriate status.
Regarding fringe expenses, just wanted to confirm the following. In Canada, the cost of health insurance and employee contribution and pensions plans is included in the salaries of employees. We just want to confirm that we can do the following. We will list the cost of salaries in the budget narrative, including fringe benefits. In the budget narrative, we will describe the percentage and value of the fringe benefits. I think that's fine. You think, yep, that's fine. Perfect solution.
Yeah, should we include the in-kind contribution in the budget detail as $0? In the budget narrative, it will be shown as in-kind and a description with dollar value added. So if you're including an in-kind contribution, I would include it only in the budget narrative. And you can ascribe a dollar value to it, but I would not have that. So your budget narrative at the top should have a total amount. And I would not, you don't want to include that in-kind contribution in that total amount because that is the amount that should match your budget detail. I would not include it in your budget detail, and those two numbers should be the same as your award ask. So you can describe it in your budget narrative and give it a value, but you're not going to include that value in any of your overall tallies.
Might be too broad of a question to answer, but how detailed should the work plan be? When particular files will be handed off, or is it more about milestones? That's a good question. I think that's contingent on how large your project is. If it's if you just want to hit the large milestones in your project and how long your project is, because some of these projects are a year. So if it's a year project, you might want to be a little more detailed. If it's a 3-year project, you might want to be a little more broad in hitting the milestones. What you wanted to do is you wanted to highlight your digitization plan, the major parts of your digitization plan, your outreach, those type of things. And you want it to be a consistent story. They just want to know that you have a handle on what's happening each quarter or each year of your project.
We have any straggler questions?
There we go. If our organization does not offer benefits, will that count against us? No, it will not.
Yeah, I want to just clearly state that we have a line for salaries and wages, and we have a line for fringe benefits. And some organizations use that setup, and other organizations have their fringe encapsulated in their salary and wage line. And nobody really looks at the details, the budget detail, and questions the absence of a fringe line in relation to a given salary and wage line. It's kind of more about how your internal organization administrates these things. But no one will come follow up with, it looks like there's fringe missing from this budget detail. It will just be assumed it's a component of the salary line.
Yeah, that most that the reviewers are looking at is an equitable wage for the area that you live in. Thank you, Jessica.
Okay, I'm going to put our last slide up.
Great, and I'm going to launch our last poll. If you can take a second or two to complete how you're feeling about this. All right, we almost have everyone. I'll give a few more seconds. All right, thank you so much. And also before you go, please be sure to fill out our session survey that we shared at the beginning. We'll share again here. Your feedback has been really useful to us as we've developed the series, and this is one last chance for you to reflect on the series as a whole as we consider what we might improve if we do this again. Thank you so much for joining us today, and please don't hesitate to send questions our way to the hidden collections at CLIR.org. As they come up between now and the application deadline of May 8th. Have a great rest of your day and happy grant writing.